Hello and welcome to Reportage with Danish bin Nabi. After the present political dispensation introduced a bill amending Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, it has sent NGOs into a frenzy. Many believe that it will hamper free functioning of the sector. To understand these FCRA amendments and the problems faced by NGO during the COVID crisis, I am today joined by Ashfaq Ahmed Muttu, who is Executive Director of Jammu and Kashmir Association Social Workers. Ashfaq Saab, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Danish.
As you know, the FCRA, the government has amended these FCRA bills, the Regulation Act. How it's going to affect the NGOs in Jammu and Kashmir?
I think before we proceed to how it is going to impact NGOs in Jammu and Kashmir, we need to understand that FCRA is a regulation act, and it has been enacted first in 1976 during the emergency by then Congress regime. At that time also it was brought in to have a control over the political dispensation of that time who were opposing the government. But with the time of passage, it became more NGO oriented. The act became more NGO oriented, and most of the organizations who were receiving any kind of foreign contributions had to do FCRA registration under FCRA. They had to get a registration, and then they could have access to any kind of foreign funds. Now, if we look at numbers, currently around 49,000, less than 50,000 organizations are registered under FCRA in whole of India. And out of them, the ministry considers around 22,000 some organizations as active organizations who have filed their returns with the organizations and who have reported what they have done with these funds that they have received. And if you see last 3 years, these are government numbers. This is not some assumption. These are government numbers that in last 3 years, starting from 2016 to 2019, through the FCRA, NGOs in India received around 58,000 crore rupees. And all of this money came for the public good or developmental work. To be specific in terms of J&K, in J&K we have around 219 organizations that are registered under FCRA, out of which ministry considers 125 as active organizations currently. And if we see just 2017-18 figures from ministry, around 55 crore rupees have come as foreign funding to NGOs in J&K. But we also need to understand one point here, that out of these 125 organizations, around 62 or 63, if I remember correctly, are organizations which are registered from Ladakh.
Okay. So Ladakh including both Leh as well as Kargil.
Yeah, including Leh and Kargil. And after the Jammu and Kashmir reorganization bill, now these practically are entities which are in Ladakh. So we are left with around 62 or 64 organizations in now Union Territory of J&K who have FCRA. So, and I am bringing these numbers in front because we also need to understand that all of NGO work is not happening through FCRA funds. We have thousands of organizations registered in J&K, and if we consider out of them a minuscule percentage, that is 63 or 64 organizations that have FCRA and have access to foreign funds.
As you said that the first amendments were made during 70s, Congress government was there, and since then it has been consistently going on, the amendments, bill has been amended. How different are these amendments that we saw only in the last parliament session?
See, if we see from 1976 to almost 2010, no amendments were done in the act. In 2010, first time UPA government made changes, and the changes, I would just reflect to one of the changes which was that now the FCRA registration was not lifetime kind of registration. It was valid only for 5 years. So in 2015, because of this amendment, almost 10,000 organizations lost their registration. And as I said, the amendments have been a process, but how different these amendments are and how they are going to affect. See, there are 4 major things, major parts of these amendments. One amendment is which bars organizations now to distribute the FCRA funds to any other FCRA entity.
Yeah.
Now, how does this impact NGO sector? See, majority of foreign funding is sourced by large international organizations who have their offices in India, in Delhi, in Bombay, in Bangalore, and other metropolitan cities. And now, then they were further distributing this or collaborating with smaller local organizations through whom they were working. Now they cannot do this. So, which means there would be a fund crunch for local organizations who were receiving this. Now, big organizations, they are not going to close their shop. What they meant,
but the small organization will definitely get it. Ashfaq Saab, one of the new provisions in the bill says that all foreign funded NGOs have to bank with a single state bank branch in New Delhi.
Yeah, this is
it's a new amendment.
Yeah.
One of the amendments in the new bill.
Yeah. In the new bill, it is a new amendment. Earlier also, if you see,
but only you have to bank with only one branch, but that too in Delhi.
That too in Delhi.
Isn't that going to affect the organizations based in Jammu and Kashmir?
Definitely, not just in Jammu Kashmir. All over India, organizations have to open an account in a designated branch of SBI in Delhi, and which implies the cost of business will increase for the organizations. Like they will have to a smaller organization who is getting a 10, 20, 15 lakh project from some foreign funding. Can it afford to keep somebody in Delhi, to have a sub branch in Delhi? So that is something. But we also need to understand one thing, and I would like to point it out. The rules are not yet out.
Okay.
So we don't know exactly how this will be implemented in the field, in reality.
Ashfaq Saab, one more thing. The Act also gives the Ministry of Home Affairs powers to suspend FCRA certificate for more than 180 days without specifying any upper limit.
See,
this definitely is going to affect the bigger organizations as well.
Definitely, yes, it will have an impact, but it is how it is different now. Earlier also there was this 180-day thing in the Act. Now they are saying that it can be added upon. It can be in a way added upon. So you can have 180-day suspension, and then you can have one more suspension. And during that period, you have to clarify with the ministry and your registration and all documents.
It's a cumbersome process.
It would be a cumbersome process.
Do you think it's a good idea to implement these bills or to rectify the FCRA laws during the COVID times? Because the NGOs are being at the forefront during every natural disaster.
See, main point from NGOs currently, whoever the big players and NGOs have been this, that there has been praise on NGOs from the highest seats of the government, that they have done commendable job during the COVID times. And bringing this amendment at this time is definitely going to stall that process. Now, but I would like to add here that being a regulation act, NGOs also have to be prepared from time to time that government will, as they will feel need of new amendments, they will come up with new amendments. And NGOs will also have to, I think, kind of collectively put forward their point of views, concerns in front of government, that how it is going to affect.
Have you taken such a step as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned? Is there anybody who is going to talk on behalf of Jammu and Kashmir?
I don't think right now there are any such
initiatives taken by you people.
Initiatives right now, but definitely organizations are very worried. Like I would cite an example from last week. I have heard about 3 organizations whose projects were suspended by bigger organizations. Because of this amendment, that the bigger organizations can further.
But it's also going to affect your research, strategic teams. It's going to affect these things also.
Definitely. See, one of the amendments is in the current bill that has been brought up is that they have reduced the cost of admin from 50% to 20%. So basically, the organizations that are more into research, capacity building, they have more of admin costs.
Yeah.
So how they are going to survive? Basically, that is a big question.
Let's come to the second part about the COVID pandemic. How have NGOs helped the health department in Jammu and Kashmir in last, say, 5-6 months?
I think NGOs have done a tremendous job, not just in J&K, but all over the world, in India, all over India. But specifically, if we talk about Jammu and Kashmir, there are many things, not just helping the health department. Like NGOs have helped families in distress. With family kits, household items, ration kits, medical supplies, and all. And it is.
You had also given 6 ventilators to the hospital, to the government, I must say, which they have refused. Giving a reason, we require ventilators very much, but before ventilators, we need space, specific beds for ventilators and nurses, says a government official requesting anonymity. Isn't this bizarre?
See, I cannot comment on this because our organization has not done this, but this was one of the organizations, one of the leading NGOs, which came up with this offer to giving ventilators. And later on, there was this thing from the health department that they are not the ventilators that they require. So I cannot comment on this, but any help coming from civil society should have been welcomed. They could have placed those.
In other words, you are saying that it was not welcomed.
I think it was not welcomed.
And why do you think so?
There might be reasons that the kind of equipment they needed, they were not the same equipment. But I think it could have been resolved also by giving out clear directions to the civil society organization who was offering this kind of help, that what kind of ventilators do they need. So that could have been done. Coming back to the other part of it, so there has been lot of help NGOs have done during this pandemic. It is like I know of organizations who have helped children with their studies during this period. They have come up with innovative things. Organizations who are providing counseling, who are providing psychosocial support to children because children have been locked down in their homes. So there are many good things that NGOs
You raised a very good point about schooling. Can you quote few examples?
See, I would say our organization, I would just quote from my organization that during this pandemic, initially, we felt that because we work on education and we felt that children's education is being impacted. So we started with some WhatsApp classes and one-to-one interactions with children. Then we moved to open air classes and helped children with their studies in home-based tuitions. We trained volunteers who kind of reached out to the, because of pandemic, you cannot have a larger gathering. So in a smaller groups, they could reach out to these children. Being a smaller organization, we could not do much. But
how many schools or children or students you covered?
We reached up to, like the data we have, we reach up to around 957 children
Across the valley.
In the districts that we are working in Baramulla, in Pulwama. Then through our other programs also, like we have a program on early childhood care and education, where again we provide parents support to how they can engage this smaller young age group of children in their homes. So through that program, we reached almost around 1200 children during this pandemic, and it is that support is continuing. So we are continuing with that. Similar initiatives have been taken by other organizations apart from the charity based support, that is like supporting an organization, a family with a ration kit or something like that.
Afaq Saab, my last question. During the early phases of the lockdown, we saw, especially in mainland India, there was this huge problem of labor migrants. In Kashmir, we didn't came across such a thing. How did NGOs help with the laborers in Jammu and Kashmir?
See, we need to understand that it has a seasonality.
Okay.
Attached to it. Mainly the laborers who come from outside come during from March onwards. Because the pandemic itself started in the March, so not many had come. If it has started in any other month, so there would have been thousands and lakhs of such workers here. Mainly we depend on the migrant labor from outside state. So they come in April, from April onwards till November they are here. So in that NGOs also supported if there were some workers, some worker groups helping them with ration.
Support them
helping them with ration kits. Some of the NGOs also helped in community kitchens for these workers who were not having any work and they were locked in their rooms. And then government of J&K also took a good initiative that they arranged buses and transport for these migrant workers and helped them in going back to their villages and homes.
Afaq Saab, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.